The room was cold and silent. Hundreds of alien eyes stared at the human standing alone in the middle. He wore no armor, no weapon. His hands were tied behind his back. His face showed no fear. He looked calm, too calm for a prisoner. Across from him stood Gerala, the best telepath in the Ixari Empire. Her skin was silver blue, her head surrounded by glowing cables that pulsed with psychic energy. She was known across galaxies. She could read any mind, no matter the species, but today she looked nervous. The Galactic High Council had ordered her to scan the human. This was Earth's first contact with the galaxy. The human was found drifting in a stolen ship. He had refused to speak. He only stared, cold, silent. So they brought in Gerala to break into his mind. "You're sure about this?" she asked, turning to the council members behind the glass wall. The Supreme Speaker nodded. "Proceed. We must know what Earth is hiding." Gerala stepped forward. The human still didn't blink. His eyes followed her calmly, like he was studying her. She placed one hand gently on his head and linked. At first, it felt normal, quiet, empty, but then a scream ripped through the air. Gerala's eyes shot open. Her body shook violently, and she screamed louder than anyone in the chamber had ever heard. She fell to the ground, still shaking, her hands clutching her head. Blood leaked from her nose. Her glowing cables sparked wildly and burned out. She kept screaming. Security rushed in. Medics tried to calm her, but she just kept screaming one word over and over. "Darkness! Darkness! Darkness!" The human didn't move. He didn't even blink. He just looked down at her, silent. Minutes later, the chamber was sealed. Gerala was unconscious. Her body had gone cold. Medical machines couldn't explain it. Her brain waves were off the charts, like she had seen something that her mind couldn't handle. The council was in chaos. "This has never happened," one member said. "Not even when she scanned the dark minds. Is it an attack?" Another shouted, "Did the human do this to her?" "He didn't move," said the security commander. No device, no tech, no energy spike. The speaker stared at the human on the screen. "What are you?" he whispered. They placed the human in a high-security cell. Still, he said nothing. No one dared go near him, but the speaker had to know. "What did you do to her?" he asked through the intercom. The human finally looked up. He smiled, just a small smile, and said one sentence. "She touched what wasn't meant for her." Then he looked away. The speaker ordered a level 7 scan of Gerala's mind. The neural patterns were unreadable, like thousands of voices had screamed into her brain at once. A few hours later, Gerala woke up in the medical wing. Her eyes were wide. Her mouth trembled. She whispered, "Don't link. Never link." When they asked what she saw, she started crying. "The mind wasn't alone," she said. "The doctors didn't understand." "You mean others were in his mind?" She shook her head slowly. "No, his mind was looking back at me." The council held an emergency meeting. All files on Earth were reopened. The truth was strange. Earth had sent no message, no warning, no beacon. They had never joined the galactic network. And yet, somehow, a human was here. They checked the ship he came in. It was made of materials Earth shouldn't have. It had shielding beyond galactic tech, but its engine was destroyed. Crashed, or maybe placed. "No one sends a telepath without backup," one general said. "Unless he is the backup," another whispered. In the shadows of the chamber, the human sat still. He didn't look scared or angry. He looked like someone waiting, not for escape, but for something to begin. Far away, on the edge of the galaxy, a deep space probe went silent, then another and another. All probes near the Sol system went dark. Earth had not responded. Earth had not spoken, but Earth was watching. Gerala's scream still echoed in the minds of those who heard it. The medical bay was silent now, except for the soft beeping of machines trying to keep her stable. Her glowing cables had burned out. Her silver skin had turned pale. Her lips kept moving in her sleep, whispering something only the machines could record. No one could understand her words, not even the machines. The High Council sat in the war chamber. nervous and confused. The Speaker of the Council stood before them, voice cold and calm. "We have a problem," he said. No one responded. Everyone already knew. A single human had entered their territory, and their strongest telepath had nearly died after touching his mind. No one in the galaxy had ever seen a human before. Not like this. Earth was far from the central systems. It was known, yes, but ignored, weak, primitive, not a threat. But now a human was inside their most secure base. He had said nothing. Use no weapon. And yet fear was spreading like fire through the Empire. How did he survive Jirala's scan? Asked General Kalvak, slamming his fist on the table. He didn't just survive, whispered the science minister. He broke her. In the cell, the human still sat quietly. His name was unknown. His records didn't match any known database. His ship had no ID, no tracking, no logs, and yet it had arrived, and somehow he had made it through their security fields. The guards watched him from behind reinforced glass. Cameras scanned his vitals. Heartbeat normal, brainwaves calm, oxygen levels perfect. But the machines didn't understand what they were seeing. One of the guards turned to the captain. "He just sits there, sir. Doesn't eat, doesn't sleep, doesn't even blink much." The captain nodded. "Like he's waiting for something." Then the lights in the hallway flickered. In the council chamber, fear grew louder. "We need another scan," said the Speaker. The room went quiet. "You want to send another telepath?" asked the defense chief. "After what happened to Jirala?" "We need answers," the Speaker replied. "We need to know what is in his mind." The second telepath chosen was younger, less experienced. Her name was Naira. She was brave or foolish. She stood in front of the glass chamber, looking in at the silent human. She closed her eyes, breathed deeply, and stepped inside. The door hissed shut behind her. Naira walked slowly toward him. "Can you hear me?" she asked softly. The human looked at her. No smile this time, just a quiet stare. "I'm going to link," she said. Still, he said nothing. She placed her hand on his temple and linked. It was like falling. Her body froze. Her mind plunged into a deep black ocean. But this was not water. This was thought, raw thought, moving faster than light. Voices screaming, laughing, crying, some speaking languages she didn't know. Others speaking words that didn't sound like words at all. And in the center, she saw something. It looked like Earth, but it wasn't. It was larger, alive, breathing. The cities were minds. The mountains were memories. The oceans of pain. Naira started crying. Tears rolled down her cheeks as her body shook. She dropped to her knees, but she didn't break like Jirala. She whispered 2 words, "Echo Protocol." Then she pulled her hand away. Back in the control room, the council gasped. They had heard the words, "Echo Protocol." Asked the Speaker, "What is that?" Naira was shaking. "I don't know," she whispered. "But he does." She pointed to the human. "He let me see it. He wanted me to see it." The council began searching their archives. Thousands of files were opened. Echo Protocol, Echo Protocol. Nothing came up, no. Record not a single mention, except one. Redacted document, locked behind ancient clearance codes, even. The Speaker didn't have access. It was sealed by the original founders of the Galactic Network. Centuries old. When they tried to open it, the system shut down. The council chamber lights flickered. The message on screen was clear. Access denied. Human origin data, Class 0 containment. They all looked at each other. Someone whispered, "They've been hiding something since the beginning. Back in the cell." The human looked at the ceiling. Then he looked directly at the camera. His voice came through, calm, slow and clear. "You wanted to know what Earth is hiding?" He smiled again. "You're not ready." The screen in the council room suddenly turned black. Then a single symbol appeared, a glowing spiral, blue and red, turning slowly. None of them had seen it before, but deep inside one of the elder members of the council, a memory stirred. "I've seen that symbol," he said, shaking. "In a dream. Long ago, before I joined the council." Another member stood up. "I've seen it too. When I was a child." The room went silent again. What kind of species could plant dreams? What kind of species could hide memories? And what kind of species would stay silent for centuries until now? The speaker looked at the frozen image on the screen. I want every file on Earth unlocked, now, and far away, deep in the human's mind. Something opened, something was waking up. The council chamber was colder than before, not because the temperature dropped, but because everyone inside now felt a strange fear in their bones, fear of the human, fear of what they didn't understand. The speaker stood alone, staring at the frozen spiral symbol on the giant screen. It kept turning slowly, blue and red, like it was alive. No one could trace where the signal came from. No one could shut it off. The human had said only one thing: "You're not ready." And now the galaxy was no longer sure if it ever would be. Neera, the second telepath, was in recovery. She sat on a medical bed, silent, her eyes wide open. She had seen something, and though she hadn't screamed like Jarala, something in her had changed. The softness in her voice was gone. She spoke slowly, like every word came from a different time. His mind. It doesn't follow rules, she said. It doesn't defend. It doesn't attack. Then what does it do? Asked the medical officer. Neera turned to him. It watches. Meanwhile, the human still sat in his cell, still silent, still calm, but the cameras had started to fail, one by one. Every hour another system would glitch. Another screen would go black. Another backup server would crash. The tech team thought it was sabotage. But they found no virus, no hacking device, nothing. Only the human, sitting there watching. "We need to send someone in," said General Kalvak. "Someone who isn't a telepath. Someone who can speak with him." "No one. Volunteers," replied the speaker. "I'll go," said a new voice. All eyes turned. It was a linguist, Dr. Rallo, an older alien with 3 eyes and a mind made for puzzles. He had studied Earth's ancient languages for decades, even though the planet had no contact with the galaxy. "I've studied their minds," he said. "But I want to meet one." Dr. Rallo entered the cell slowly. He held no weapons, only a translator in his hand. The human looked at him but said nothing. Rallo bowed slightly, a sign of peace. "My name is Rallo," he said. "I study your people." The human tilted his head. "Do you understand them?" "I try," Rallo said. "We've been watching Earth for many years." The human smiled. "Have you?" he asked softly. "Or have you only seen what we allowed?" Rallo paused. "You know, we never made contact," he said. "Why?" The human looked up. "Because silence is safer. Until someone touches our mind." Back in the control room, Neera was watching the conversation from a screen. Her hands were shaking. "There's something wrong," she said. The guards turned to her. "He's not doing anything." "That's the problem," she said. "His mind. It's not in there." "What?" She pointed to the screen. "He's here, but his mind isn't." Inside the cell, Rallo kept talking. "We didn't mean harm. We only wanted knowledge." The human leaned forward. "Then why did you send a weapon into my mind?" "Jarala?" "She wasn't ready," he said. "You sent a sword into a sea." "And the sea looked back." Rallo frowned. "What is the Echo Protocol?" The human stood up. Every alarm in the control room went off. Guards reached for weapons. Energy fields spiked. The human didn't move aggressively. He simply stood, slowly, calmly. His voice echoed across rooms, through walls, into every speaker. "Echo Protocol was never yours to find." Then the lights went out, all of them, across the entire base. For 10 seconds, there was silence. Then backup lights blinked on, dim, flickering. The human was gone from the cell. The doors were still locked. No sensors had tripped, no sound, no movement, just gone. Guards searched every floor. Ships were launched. Cameras rewound their footage, but in every frame, he was there one moment and gone the next, not teleported, not cloaked, simply erased. Back in Neera's mind, something whispered. She fell to her knees, eyes wide, her hands covering her ears. But there was no sound, only thought. The whisper said, "I am still here." At the edge of the galaxy, Earth remained silent. No signals, no response. But something strange happened. One of the stars near the Sol system flickered unnaturally, then disappeared. Astronomers watched in confusion. Stars didn't vanish. Not like that. Dr. Rallo sat in the debrief room, shaken. He stared at the symbol the human had shown him, the spiral. He had seen it before years ago, in a dream he had forgotten until now. He opened his research notes, found a page he never remembered writing. It was the same symbol drawn in his own handwriting, dated 20 years before this mission. In that moment, the speaker realized something terrible. They hadn't just found a human. The human had found them. The Galactic Council had faced many threats before, but never silence, and never from a single human who vanished without leaving a trace. The entire base was now on high alert. Soldiers filled the halls. Drones scanned every wall. Psychic barriers were raised across the entire sector. Still, there was no sign of him. It was like he had never been there at all. Neera sat in the medbay, wrapped in a heated recovery blanket. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. "It's not over," she whispered again and again. "He's still here, just not in the way we understand." The doctors thought she was delirious. But she wasn't. She was afraid, deeply afraid. In the Council's command room, emergency lights flickered. Files on Earth had been unlocked, but not by Council authority. They had been opened by something else. On every terminal, one message repeated, "Echo Protocol, active." It made no sense. The galaxy had no record of this protocol. It wasn't created by them. It wasn't stored in any Council archive. And yet there it was, alive, running through their own system. Dr. Rallo stood before the Council. He held up his notes. "This symbol," he said, pointing to the spiral, "was in my research. But I never drew it. I never wrote these words." "You expect us to believe you were controlled," said General Kalvak. "I expect you to understand something bigger is at play," Rallo replied. "The human didn't bring the danger here. Here's the warning." The speaker leaned forward. "A warning of what?" Rallo looked around, then spoke carefully. "I believe we were never meant to reach Earth. That planet is not just a world. It's a weapon." Whispers filled the chamber. "A weapon." Someone scoffed. "It's just a small planet on the edge of a forgotten system." "That's what we were told," Rallo said. "But what if Earth wanted it that way? What if Earth wanted us to ignore it?" In an underground server vault, engineers worked frantically. Their AI systems were failing. Entire data cores had gone blank. "No virus," one technician said. "No code, just wiped." "Wiped how?" asked his supervisor. "Like something—" "Looked at it," the tech said, confused. "And it stopped existing." Meanwhile, across the stars, more strange things happened. Outposts near Earth's sector went dark. Satellites disappeared. Drones sent toward Earth never returned. But most disturbing of all was what they found on an abandoned station, a message burned into metal. "You were warned." This was the first knock. No one knew how it got there. No one saw who sent it. There were no burn marks, no welding. Just clean, burned text, scorched into titanium walls, like something far beyond science had carved it with a thought. Neera began drawing again. She didn't know why. Her hands moved on their own, sketching circles, lines, symbols that glowed faintly on the page. Her eyes were far away, locked in a trance. "I'm not drawing," she whispered. "It's showing me." Back in the Council chamber, Rallo opened a final file. "This was classified 200 years ago," he said. "By the first exploration fleet." The file showed the logs of a probe that once approached Earth. It never returned, but it sent one final image. A black silhouette in space, humanoid, but vast. Its eyes glowed like stars. It had no ship, no armor, just presence. The Council had dismissed it as sensor error. Now, Rallo wasn't so sure. The speaker turned to the Council members. "We've made a mistake," he said. "A human did not crash into our space. He was sent, far beyond, in the silence of space. A fleet of cloaked Terran vessels waited near the edge of Ixari territory. They did not move. They did not attack. They simply watched." Inside, the lead ship stood a figure, another human, dressed in deep black armor with no name. no insignia. He opened a screen that showed the Galactic Council's panic, the vanished probes, the message on the wall. And he nodded. "Phase 1 complete," he said. On Earth, deep below the surface, a giant machine began to hum. Its energy couldn't be read by satellites, its signals couldn't be traced by scanners, but it pulsed slowly, steadily, and it was waking up. The mind the Council had touched was not a soldier, not a diplomat, not a prisoner. He was a mirror, a piece of something far larger, something that had been waiting for this moment for centuries. The human had said it once. She touched what wasn't meant for her. Now the galaxy was learning what that truly meant. They hadn't unlocked a secret. They had knocked on a locked door. And now, the door was opening. A cold wind moved across Sector Zeta 9, not from weather, but from fear. The Galactic Council had locked the station. No ships entered. No messages were sent. The system was placed under silent protocol. No one spoke about the human anymore, but everyone felt it. Something was watching them, and worse, something was moving. Naira sat on the floor of her room, surrounded by strange drawings she never remembered making. They were not art. They were signals, circles inside circles, paths shaped like stars, languages she had never studied, yet now understood. She had stopped speaking 2 days ago. Now she only wrote and whispered in her sleep. He is not alone. In the deepest part of the data vault, a signal arrived. No one sent it. No one could trace it, but every screen flickered and displayed the same message. The second mind has entered your space. Technicians froze. What second mind? Who's transmitting? But nothing replied, only silence. Then one of the outer satellites vanished from the map. No explosion, just gone. The speaker stood before the council once more. His face looked older, eyes tired. "Earth is not what we believed," he said. "It was never just a planet. The human was not a scout. He was a signal." Dr. Rallo added more. "I believe," he said, "that Earth holds a shared consciousness, not like a hive mind, but something larger." "Explain," said the defense chief. "Imagine a mind that spreads across every human being," Rallo said slowly. "But only activates when needed." General Kalvak stood. "You're saying we didn't capture a human?" "No," Rallo said. "We captured a message." The chamber was silent for a long time. Then the alarms rang, sensors on the outer border had detected ships, but not just any ships. There were no engines, no life signs, no signatures, yet they were there, moving in perfect silence across the void. 20. Vessels, sleek, black, invisible to radar until they chose to be seen, and at their center was the same spiral symbol, glowing faintly on each hull. "Where did they come from?" shouted the defense chief. "Unknown," said the technician. "No hyperspace jump detected. They were just there." "Are they armed?" "The tech swallowed hard. We don't know. Our scanners can't penetrate the hulls. It's like they're made of data, not matter." Naira opened her eyes in her room. She stood slowly, walked to the window, and smiled. "They're here," she whispered. "The rest of him." The Council scrambled their fleets. Hundreds of warships launched. Energy shields were raised. Defense codes were activated. Every weapon system in the system pointed at the silent Terran fleet. But still, those ships did nothing. They just hovered, waiting, watching. The human had still not been found. But now it didn't matter, because his kind had arrived, and they weren't hiding inside one of the Council's black site stations. A junior officer saw a light blinking on a private terminal. He opened it, thinking it was a maintenance alert. Instead, a message flashed on screen. "We never needed ships. You brought us here." The screen went black, and every light in the station dimmed. Gravity fluctuated, then stopped, and the base began to drift. Council. Command lost contact with the black site. Then another, then a third. No attacks. No explosions, just empty space. Where stations used to be. "They're taking us apart, without firing a shot," whispered a technician. The speaker clenched his fists. "They're sending a message. 1, of the silent Terran ships began to glow. Only one. It turned slowly, aiming its nose toward the Council's capital station. The glow formed into a shape, a face not human, not alien, a mix of both, eyes like galaxies. A voice came through every speaker, every mind, soft, calm, unstoppable. You looked into our mind. Now we will show you. What looked back? Every psychic in the system screamed. They clutched their heads, passed out. Some never woke up. On the capital station, windows cracked. Steel bent, machines failed, but no one had touched them. No energy wave, no missile, no hack, just pressure, a presence, a consciousness pressing against theirs, testing them, reading them and finding them weak. Dr. Rollo collapsed to his knees. He saw a vision. Humans, long ago, not with weapons, but with minds wide open. They had buried something. Deep within themselves, a defense system, not to destroy others, but to awaken only when threatened by something that couldn't be reasoned with, something like the Galactic Council. The face on the Terran ship looked at them. Your telepath broke the seal. Now your silence is not enough. We see you. And we remember. On Earth, the machine pulsed again. A second time, then a third, and deep below the ocean floor, ancient structures began to rise, massive, hidden for centuries, waiting. The humans weren't coming. They were already here, everywhere, inside systems, inside machines, inside dreams. And now the galaxy had to ask, what happens when Earth stops watching and starts answering? The spiral face vanished from the Terran ship. The silent fleet remained, unmoving, surrounding the capital system like a quiet storm. They didn't fire. They didn't speak again. They just waited and watched inside the Galactic Council's medical wing. Gerala finally opened her eyes. She had not spoken since the first mind link with the human, but now she sat up straight. Her lips trembled. Her silver-blue skin glowed faintly, but something was wrong. Her eyes looked older, deeper, like she had seen time itself. A doctor rushed to her. Gerala, can you hear me? She turned slowly. Her voice came out soft but broken. I remember now. Council command was in chaos. Their fleets were frozen, their weapons locked out. Every backup system had failed. Entire regions of space had gone quiet. The machines still worked, but not for them. They worked for something else now. In the central chamber, the speaker demanded answers. Why aren't we attacking? Because we can't, said the defense commander. Our systems are infected. Infected how? The speaker barked. The commander shook his head. They're not breaking our machines. They're understanding them, speaking to them, rewriting them, Rollo added from the side. They're not invading us. They're correcting us. Back in the med-wing. Gerala whispered, I saw it. The mind. The real Earth. The doctors leaned in. What did you see? Gerala looked at her hands. I saw a planet. But it wasn't a planet. It was a thought. A living idea. A world built not to conquer, but to protect. She paused, then said something that shook everyone. They never meant to be gods. But we made them into monsters the moment we touched what we shouldn't have. The original human, the one who had vanished, now reappeared, not on camera, not in a hallway, but inside the minds of every council leader at the same time. Each of them saw him differently. To some, he was calm. To others, he was terrifying. To all of them, he was clear. You took one of us, he said, and tried to open a locked mind. You broke your own rules of peace. We responded by waking up. Suddenly, the station's gravity returned. The flickering stopped. Lights steadied. Weapons unlocked. Systems rebooted. The sun. Terran ships turned slowly, one by one, and began to move away. No war, no destruction, just departure. But before they left, one final message echoed across the galaxy. It came from Gerala herself. Her voice was carried through every comms channel, even though she never spoke aloud. They gave us a second chance. Not because we deserved it, but because they know what's coming. The spiral symbol appeared one last time across every system. Echo protocol complete. Phase 2 begins. When the galaxy forgets again, Rallo stood before the council. His voice was steady, but his eyes showed fear. We were not invaded, he said. We were reminded. The council ordered full lockdown of all Earth-related data. They banned telepathic contact with unregistered species. They placed Saul under a no-approach zone, but it was too late because the truth had already spread. And across the stars, new whispers began. Earth is not weak. Earth was never silent. Earth is watching. On Earth, deep inside the now awakened machine, one final process began, not of war, not of revenge, but of observation. It sent out invisible waves, not to planets, but to minds, to children, to leaders, to dreamers. Some would see spiral symbols in their sleep. Others would hear a voice when no one was speaking. One or two would draw maps they couldn't explain. Earth was choosing again, because humanity had always been alone. Until now. Now it knew who was watching, and it had decided, next time. We won't warn.